the Dubai Pro Men's Physique. So in first place, we had Aaron Banks. I think Aaron made some improvements to his physique from the last time we saw him at the Olympia. I think he was overall more balanced, in his front pose and even front to back as well. So in the front pose, I feel like his arms and shoulders were showing better balance than what they had at the Olympia. I feel like his shoulders were a little overpowering at the Olympia and the arms looked a little thin. I think he filled them out a little bit more while keeping the shoulders the same so they didn't become overpowering. Overall, the front pose was good. I feel like for him, he can still add just a little bit more thickness to his chest that will enhance his front pose look. And the main thing for him is to really bring crisp conditioning. So from the back, obviously his back pose is always good. I think he made posing improvements from the Olympia as he was posing it a little bit awkwardly last year, the whole year last year. I think he posed it better at the show here. And overall for him, it was just a very, very clear win. He was pretty much heads and shoulders above everybody else. But when you compare it to second place Miroslav right in the front pose, you really see there's a difference between the two of them with their conditioning in the front. Just look through the midsection, through the abs, and through the core, right? Through the obliques. You see that really crisp conditioning in Miroslav. That Aaron's conditioning is good, but he needs that crispness in the conditioning at the Olympia when he's going up against the best in the world. So for him, just filling out the chest a little bit more and really dialing it on the conditioning. Can't afford to be good with conditioning at the Olympia when you're vying for the title. You have to be great. You have to be 100% on and look perfect, basically. So that's what he has to work on for the Olympia and not much else. In second, like I said, we had Miroslav. I think Miroslav's front pose is very, very good. I actually like the angle that he hit his front pose in Romania last year more than I liked how he hit it at this show. I think he was trying to angle just a little bit too much. But nevertheless, very, very strong front pose. It almost is Ryan Terry-esque with the overall fullness and balance and conditioning that he brings. He brings really nice detail through the midsection, through the obliques, through the abdominals. His chest is nice and full. His shoulders and arms are not too big by any means, but they are very, very well balanced. So the shoulders, arms, and chest, everything is well balanced in the front pose. Very, very good front pose. So between, looking at third and fourth, he beats them by a lot in the front pose here. Now with the back, he needs to improve his back for sure. He needs definitely more thickness back there so he gets more detail, and he can also use a little bit more width from the back. So for Miroslav from the back, he can actually look at Ryan Terry as an example of what you can do and change your back pose in a short period of time. As we saw, Ryan's back was always a bigger weakness for him. He always had a great front pose, but he really didn't have the detail and the pop to his back. Obviously, that changed last year. I think Miroslav's in that kind of position where if he changes his back pose from a weakness to a strength, then everybody needs to watch out because his front pose makes him a really, really dangerous competitor. In third place, we had Abby. So he has won 2 shows the last 2 weeks. Came into here, I think for him, he was just a little bit on the flatter side when it comes to conditioning. For him, he needs that conditioning to really help him pop more. So for him, he still needs to fill out the chest. Definitely needs more thickness to the chest for the front pose. Other than that, everything else is really good. And then here in the back pose, you can see with some better backs on stage that this is where he needs more thickness and still a little bit more width. And he can easily do that with the frame that he has. So his back needs to be a big focus for him moving forward, going to the Olympia and, of course, afterwards. The chest fullness, I think, will come in time as well. And again, he just has a really nice men's physique look where everything is balanced, nothing is overpowering. Like I've said before, his arms are at the limit. His arms are at the limit of where they need to be. And now we'll move into fourth place, which was Carlos. And you can see when it comes to men's physique, you're seeing the size of the top 3 guys, and now you see the size of Carlos. So Carlos is definitely a little bit too big right now. His arms and shoulders are a little bit big and dense. Even from shoulder to shoulder throughout the chest, you can see that real density there, right? So he has to streamline his physique if he wants to move up and do better at the Olympia. So With men's physique, sometimes it's hard. You can see some guys might be a little bit on the smaller side. Some guys might be on a little bit of the bigger side, right? That can win shows. He's won a show this year. He has a really, really good look. Obviously, from the back, I would argue that he actually had the best back pose on stage. And from the back, his triceps aren't really dominating, and his shoulders, everything in the back pose is really not too much. So if you just looked at him from the back, you would say, oh, wow, this guy's, looks great, has an amazing back. But when you're in the front pose, you can see that the density, and almost it gets to the point where we don't want to see, like I said before, the bodybuilder-ish look. So he has to streamline that front pose from the arms through the chest. And then also I think he can pose a little bit better as well through the front pose. You see he kind of has a little bit of a short torso, and the way he was standing doesn't help that. So it doesn't really accentuate the taper that he does have and the aesthetic look that he can bring to stage. So the front pose needs to be changed up a little bit. I think conditioning-wise, he can be a little bit crisper from the front, so we can see more detail and everything like that. I think if he does that and even brings it down a little bit more, that's going to help him in the streamlining process. But the main thing for him is just streamlining that physique, because everything's there. It just needs to be more fitting to the men's physique criteria. So that's your recap for the top 4 in Dubai.